Hello, my Teaser King family. How is everybody today? As I said on Tuesday, I'm coming on early. Right, I just finished work to because we know we got Utah tonight, and the games are on. There's 7, 8 o'clock, so I wanted to go through all that with you. Now, Rising is supposed to play. I put out a Rising's playing, and then today I doubt Rising's playing, or I don't know what's really going on. I don't like the games this Utah coach plays. Last year, he said he wasn't even listed as injured, and the game starts, and he doesn't even go out to take the first snap. So I don't get the problem of the coach. I get he's trying to how do you defend us? Hi, the real D. I'm fine. How are you today? So the again, the coach is playing games, but it's not stupid of what he does for the other team. Like Florida, what do they prepare for Rising, and then they don't prepare for it, and he doesn't play. The difference is this is the whole preseason here, the whole summer. Utah could prepare 2, 3 different quarterbacks, Rising, the backup, the other one. So I think we'll be okay. I still think Utah wins the game, but I've got one bet in Utah -1. Now I've got one bet. I went under 50 with the second bet. So I think without Rising, it's an under. If he happens to play, they'll definitely win. And even I think without him at home, the second quarterbacks had enough time to get comfortable. I still think Utah wins the game in a revenge game and a red out, all the emotions. So in my mind, I still think Utah wins in a teaser. And now let's look at the line. I've seen 9 go to 7.5, go to 3.5, go to 4.5. Let's see what it is at 5:18 on the Eastern time. I got Utah 4.5, 44.5. So at this point, I still like Utah plus 1.5. It's interesting how it went from 7 to 3.5. Now it's 4.5. However, I think this is an under now because Rising would score points. And from what I'm hearing from these Utah guys, where they'll run more, right? They want to play defense and run, which could lead to a closer game, but it could be 20-0. But I think it's an under game now because it's going to be Army Navy. They're going to run the ball, field position, win with their defense. Little Coach Bo here. So let's go through the line. We'll just look at today and tomorrow's games. UCF 35.5, 54.5. Oh. NC State 14.5, 46.5 against UConn. Minnesota 7.5, 42.5. Utah 4.5, 44.5. And I think that's it for today. Right, that's it for today. Tomorrow we got Miami 17, 45.5. Now Van Dyke is listed as a sore thumb. I don't know what it means. Is it his throwing hand? The line really hasn't moved. It's still 17, 45.5. So I don't think it's too serious. But he is listed as probable with a thumb. Like all our quarterbacks, Major James, not much. We're just going through tonight's games. Michigan State 14.5, 45.5. These are tomorrow's, today and tomorrow's lines. Louisville 7.5, 49.5. Now this spread, Stanford went from a 9-point favorite to a 3-point favorite because Hawaii looked good at Vanderbilt losing but scoring points. So I I don't know, over under 55.5. And that's it. Michigan 35.5, 51.5. Oklahoma 36.5, 58.5. Purdue 4.5, 47.5. BC 8.5, 50.5. Kentucky 26.5, 48.5. Iowa 23.5, 43.5. TCU sitting at 20.5. I know somebody wanted Colorado a month ago, but the line hasn't really moved. This would be curious what Coach Prime Jr. can do. But TCU, don't knock TCU. They got their quarterback. The starting quarterback from last year is the starting quarterback this year. He got hurt, but he's there. So don't think TCU's not there. They're probably a little pissed because they probably want to get back to the playoffs, but we'll see. Tennessee, 27.5, 56.5. SMU, 20.5, 66.5. Temple, 10.5, 56.5. Ohio State, 29.5, 59.5. I'm not sure what to do with that game. The quarterback, it would be a plug and play. You could put Bobby in. He'd put up 50 points. 29, 59. It's really hard to what's Indiana going to do? I mean, this seems, my first blush was this isn't over, right? You got Ohio State. Indy can't stop a high school team. They're gonna light it up, which is what I think will be what'll happen. And then Indiana 59.5. Do they score? So is Indy going to put up some points and get it over? Because Ohio State could score 50 and not go over, right? 50-0. So what does Indiana do? Wisconsin 27.5, 53.5 with the new offense, the new Mordecai from SMU, a new air raid offense. Probably the defense will get tired, so this will probably turn Wisconsin more into an over team. If they go to this hurry up offense, the defense will be burnt out. With Washington 14.5, 58.5. Auburn down to 30. This was 38. UMass looks good against New Mexico State. Now it's like, it's down to 35.5. I don't know about that. 51.5 over under. I think it's more of an over game now. Now that we know UMass can actually put up 14 points, Auburn's got Peyton Thorne, Michigan State quarterback's going to start, and their defense wasn't that good. UMass, we know, has no defense, but now showed signs of an offense. Of course, they got a pick six and another interception against New Mexico State, so we don't know really how strong their offense is. And I'm sure Auburn's seen this quarterback before. Western Kentucky, 12.5, 70.5. I don't know where this 70.5 is coming from. That's way too high in that game. Texas, 35.5, 59.5. We like Texas. That's the free pick, Texas. California, 6.5, 54.5. I kind of like North Texas there too. They'll put up a lot of points. USC 38.5, 66.5. I kind of think USC is going to kill them. They put up 50 in the first game. And Nevada's worse than San Jose State by a long shot. Look at the money line on this. It's 100,000 to 1. Look at this. It's not 10,000. You got to put up 100,000 to win 100 on USC. What the fuck is that? But yet, if you take Nevada, you only get 8,000. What's wrong with that picture? So I got to lay 100,000 to win 100. So let's say I want to take Nevada. I only get 8,000. I don't get like 90,000 to offset the USC. What a bunch of horseshit. This is why I tell you, don't play the money line because the odds suck. Baylor, 27.5, 59.5 to Texas State. Washington State, 10.5, 55.5 to Colorado State. A&M, 38.5, 48.5 to New Mexico. UTSA is now favored, 1.5, 59.5 to Houston. We like Sam Harris there. Army 9.5, 46.5 to Lou Monroe. So we like Army. That's our. So we have 3 picks. We got Texas. We got Army. We had free picked Utah, and so now it's Rising was supposed to play. Now he's probably not going to play. Maybe he plays if they're down at the end. I don't know. And then so now we've kind of go to Utah under. I still think Utah wins, but Texas and Army are there. And even Army, I like it much better at 7.5, where I'm only laying, under a field goal to 9.5. It's an odd spread that it went to, but I still think Army wins. Texas will win big. North Carolina 2.5, 64.5 to South Carolina. Illinois 9.5, 45.5. Texas Tech 14, 50.5. This will be interesting. Offense against defense. fucking Bama 39.5, 51.5. Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. Neither does Middle Tennessee. Look how low the over is. So you got a 39-point favorite with a 51 total. That's saying what? Alabama's going to win 42-9 or something like that. It's crazy. Penn State 20.5, 48.5 to West Virginia. I think that line's very high. West Virginia is not that weak that they're going to get killed by Penn State. And Penn State ain't that strong. Everybody loves Penn State. I don't know about that. VTech 15.5, 47.5. Tulane 6.5, 51. That's really the game of the day. Is Tulane, South Alabama, and Houston, UTSA. Those are the best games. Those are A teams playing A teams. And this should be a very interesting game, Tulane, South Alabama. And BYU 19.5, 47 to Sam Houston, who's their first year in Division I. UCLA 14.5, 66.5 against Grayson McCall, my guy. UCLA is supposed to have a good quarterback and should be an explosive game. Rutgers 6.5, 40.5. Who the fuck knows? Northwestern, their coach is gone. Rutgers, I don't think they can score 6.5 points. Oregon State 16.5, 55.5 to San Jose State. Uglia Buglia makes his debut there. Good God. LSU, Bobby, 2.5, 55.5. I still like, I think you got to go dog and under in the game. And Clemson, 12.5, 55.5. I think it's a big number. Duke's really good. So it's not like Duke's, terrible. Duke's also was an A team last year. Love their quarterback, Riley Leonard. It's a lot of points, 12.5. They're at home. They'll be fired up, 55.5 over under. Who is Clemson? They got a new quarterback who sucked last year, so we will see. The real D, we still on Army, right? Yeah. I mean, it's still Army, Texas. I just would bet it a little bit lighter because of the 9.5. I bet it at 7. Unfortunately, I had them with New Mexico State, so I had to rebet them. But Texas is good. Army's still good, but 7-1. Boom, it's a good play. 9.5, you got a 3.5. It's a little more risky, but still, I still like their concept. And Lou Mon still sucks, Lou Monroe. So yeah, we're still on it. And all I can say is if you bet Utah, you're probably okay. But if I'm betting it now, I'm betting Utah under. So I have both bets. So this is about work, which I will tell you after football. So are you saying a teaser with Army in Texas? Yeah, well, that's the free picks. You got to look at last week, my free picks, or listen to my last week, because this has been like a 2-week. You got week 1A and now 1B. I hate when they call it week 0. No, it's the first week last week. That's week 1. This is week 2. You can't week 0 doesn't make any sense. So, yes, the free picks were Texas Army and Utah when Rising was playing. Now it looks like he's not playing. So if he's not playing, now we got to go with Utah under because they won't have a great defense. This should be a low-scoring game. If Rising is playing, then it's if he is playing, it's a Utah strong bet. But if he's not, it becomes an under because Utah's got a great defense. So let's look at the injuries. And we'll try to focus on the bigger teams. So if I look at Utah right now, it says Cam Rising, doubtful Thursday with a knee. So he was probable on Friday, and then the knee must not have, maybe they were thinking it would recover more. So it ends up where he's now doubtful, which means he probably won't play. And if he's not playing, but the backup has prepared as if he's starting. So it's a lot different when a quarterback gets injured in the third quarter. And then the backup, he's not ready. But when the backup has been practicing as if he's getting the reps, as if he's the starter, it's a whole different thing. I still think Utah wins the game. Without Rising, it's 20-7. With Rising, it's the 42-7 score I gave you. But I don't think Florida is going to show up. The real D, Utah really playing mind games with and with us, unfortunately. I don't know. Now he does his ACL in the Rose Bowl, which is January 1st. Gets the operation probably right after that. How long does it take to heal an ACL, MCL? 9 months, 10 months. So he's right there. I think what the coach feels is looking at Florida, new quarterback, Graham Mertz. He looks at his defense. He looks at it's a red out, it's a revenge game, and they're fired up. And he thinks we can win with the backup quarterback. Let me rest Rising a little bit more, is my thought. I think Utah wins the game. I don't think Florida goes to the mountains in a revenge game and a red out and wins. I don't think Florida's they don't have the quarterback to do it. So in my mind, it's still Utah. And if you bet it at 7, you're laying 1 like I did, I'm fine with it. I'm still, okay, I'm laying 1. I still think they win at home. I'd rather now that's the amazing part of Rising actually would have started at 7 and I'm only laying 1 with Rising, then it's a very strong bet. Without Rising, I still like them to win. It's a lot smaller, but I still like them to win. But when you lose, when the quarterback like a Rising is out, now it becomes an under game. The other quarterback will come in and play safe passes. They'll play to their defense, which is very, very strong this year, Utah's defense. So I don't look for Florida to get too many points unless it's just a turnover or something, which is why Utah will run more to avoid these turnovers by the quarterback who's the second stringer. What do you think about Colorado? I like TCU, I said. TCU, their starting quarterback got injured, and Duggan came in, and the starting quarterback's now back to the starting quarterback. They don't lose that. Spike Dykes is a great coach offensively. He held his own against Michigan. So you got the bulk of that team back. They're probably pissed. They probably want to get back to the playoff. I think they're going to light up Colorado. Maybe Primetime's kid is any good, but he hasn't seen a TCU defense. He's playing Division II, Jacksonville State. They had trouble. They lost. So put it this way. I watched the championship game, and they lost a high-scoring game. Well, if they're giving up all these points to whoever, McNeese State or something, what are they going to do with TCU, who runs their offense? They are explosive. They will be explosive this year, just like Tennessee, just like UCLA. You got the coaches. They're going to be explosive. So I don't see where Colorado is going to slow them down. The question is, do you bet the game over? Because you got Colorado with an offense, but I just think TCU tears them apart. Did you bet some Major League Baseball today? No, I'm focusing on football. We can look at baseball, but really now I'm in football mode. First half under what? TCU, Colorado? I don't really look at a lot of first half and second half type of stuff. I look at the game. I picked the game, right? So Utah's going to win. It'll probably be low scoring. If Rising plays, Utah kills them. That's how I look at the game. So I don't really try to nitpick first half because who knows in football, there's injuries, there's turnovers. It's very difficult. So are you talking the Colorado game first half? Or are you talking the Utah game first half? I don't know what the first half number is. I don't pay attention, but as long as we know Rising's out, then what's our first half number? 22, because the over under for the game's 44. Yeah, it's probably a good under 22 first half, but I like the game under if he's not playing. So I assume he's not. I think if we see the line jump up to 6, the game's at 8 o'clock. It's 5:30. That's why I'm on now. So if we see the line go to 7, like at 7:30, I would bet Utah because that means Rising's playing. Right now, I think they're assuming he's not, but it's still 4.5. So it went to 3.5 up to 4.5. They keep playing around with it. I don't think all this heavy Florida action is lowering the line from 7 to 4.5. I just think they just moved the line because of that. And then they're probably knowing Vegas going, okay, we got a lot of money on Florida. Rising's going to play. I mean, I think it goes to, you talk about fixing football. That's how you would fix it. Don Corleone goes, yeah, we need Rising to play. Everybody's betting Florida. And then all of a sudden, we decided Rising was ready. And if the money's coming in on Utah, yeah, you better hold Rising out. I think he needs to rest for a few weeks. Dion never having coached and new players leads to no offense. Well, no, it's his whole team from Jacksonville State. They all came to Colorado. So they're not really, it's who he coached at the other. But being success, let's look at Scott Frost. Very successful UCF, goes undefeated, beats Auburn, wants to be national champ, goes to Nebraska, can't win 5 games because now he's playing the big boys in the Big Ten. He can't show up against Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Wisconsin. Go down the list. He sucked. Well, Scott Frost, I thought, was a pretty good coach at UCF. Now you got primetime, as you say, never coached, was at Jacksonville State, so he can get away with playing, Division II, like North Dakota State. All these quarterbacks that they keep drafting from North Dakota State, Trey Lance, and the guy on Philly, what's his name? I can see the guy. Anyway, North Dakota State's Division II. And so all of a sudden they're good there, but then they stink in the pros because they're not. There's a big difference between Thompson Robinson from UCLA and Trey Lance from North Dakota State. I mean, what the fuck? It's you can't say that. And the ironic part is Trey Lance goes number 3 to the Niners. He sucks. And Thompson Robinson goes in the 5th round, and Thompson Robinson's 20 times the quarterback. Or our favorite, Stenson Benson from Georgia. I was watching some Georgia football. I actually watched Georgia, Florida. I wanted to see what Richardson looked like in college. What I'm missing here. I ain't missing anything. He'd throw Georgia just would sack him, or he'd throw the ball into the first row. He did shit. He did a little bit in the Utah game. Utah probably wasn't ready for him, but against Georgia, I don't think the guy completed 30% of his passes. Now, most people don't. He ran around a little bit, but all he would do is hit he couldn't read the defense. So he would run around for 5 seconds, and then he'd hit the running back out of the backfield, or he'd throw it into the stands. So big reason. And then I was watching the LSU Georgia game. Georgia's got him 35-10. And then Daniels gets hurt and goes out, and the backup puts up 30 points on Georgia, not Daniels. So don't get too excited on Daniels doing anything. Yeah, Wentz, thank you. Yeah, so Wentz was North Dakota State. And he had a good career. Had one good year, and then he ran and then hurt his knee, and that was it. And they told him to slide, and of course he didn't. And now San Diego's got this guy Stick from North Dakota State who sucks. So I don't know why they keep going to North Dakota State like there's some powerhouse, because they're good in Division II playing nothing. This is why I say when they draft these guys out of fucking high school, or he's a 5-star, Uglia Buglia, he's a number one quarterback in high school. Well, how does that translate? Then he gets to Clemson, the guy sucks. Now let's see him at Oregon State. He'll probably still suck there. I'm not doing anything with that. But that's the point. What you look like in high school doesn't matter. And every coach that's kind of moved up has always failed. The guy went from Colorado State. He's now the Central Michigan coach. Went to Colorado State, put some, lit it up, went to Florida. And how did he do there? He had to do a kumbaya, and then now he's at Central Michigan where he belongs. And most of these coaches who move up don't do shit, because they're good against weak. So they're okay coaches against weak competition, but when they start playing the big boys, they're outclassed. So, yeah, nobody's beating Alabama. Now, Kirby Smart's an Alabama guy. The defensive coordinator, he knows. So he's running the Alabama defense to perfection, only with more blitzing. But, look for Georgia to run the table again, and good luck getting more than 10 points on them this year. They're fucking loaded. The real D, you staying away from NC State, UConn. Well, I mean, I would think it'd be an under game because NC State, Leary, their quarterback, goes to Kentucky. So who's their new quarterback? I think it's some guy from Virginia. They're a very strong defensive team normally with this coach. UConn doesn't have much. I think this would be an under game. I don't want to lay 14 with NC State. I don't want to get New Mexico stated against UConn like we did against UMass. So right now I would leave it alone. I think NC State's probably a good team, a good defensive team. Not quite sure how their quarterback is, but even with the quarterback last year, the guy went to Kentucky, didn't really, light it up. So I don't know that their offense. I think he runs and plays to his defense. So I think that's probably a low-scoring game. Much like the Utah game should be low-scoring. Michigan, I think, will be low-scoring. Iowa, it looks like McNamara is playing. Let's take a look at the injuries. So I think Iowa could score a little bit more with McNamara. He's a pretty good quarterback at Michigan. And but I still think they're going to just shut you down. It's just the system. So I think Iowa's an under. Alabama, they got one running back questionable, Johnny Miller, and T. Mitchell, a DB out. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Army, running back, Robinson is out. And the quarterback, Meredith, maybe that's Don Meredith, out for the season, undisclosed, but he's never played before, so I'm not worried about that. Auburn, let's see, wide receiver out, wide receiver questionable, wide receiver questionable. So again, they got problems with 3 wide receivers and 2 more. There's 5 on the injury report, but 2 are probable, and then 2 are questionable, 1's out. And the kid from Michigan State's supposed to be the starter, and they're playing UMass, so I don't think they're too worried about it. Baylor's clean. Boise, 3 wide receivers are all out. Bowling Green, nothing. BYU, running back out for the season. Real Patty, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you usually have a bunch. And if it's a big running back, we've heard of them. Buffalo, wide receiver questionable. Cornerback questionable. I think Cal's going to have all they want with North Texas State. I think North Texas State has a very good offense. What do I got in that? So Cal is 6.5, 55. Yeah, North Texas has the Mike Leach assistant. So they're going to run the Mike Leach offense. Cal's going to have trouble with that. The game's at North Texas. I would not be surprised. If you're looking for a money line game there, I would think North Texas can beat Cal. Cal sucks. The other one is Hawaii, I think, can beat Stanford straight up. That spreads down to 3.5, though. But Stanford's a Z team. Well, they were. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we did that with UMass, and I don't want to do that again. I don't make the same mistake twice. Not very often. So let's look. So the Z teams this week are Stanford. Hawaii's now, let's say, an over. Colorado last year. Again, we got to wait. Boston College probably still suck. Akron probably still sucks. Nevada playing USC. That could be really a big score. Nevada will not have this. Like San Jose State had a good quarterback, Cordero. Nevada's got nobody. I mean, it's a new quarterback, and USC is going to be out for blood. So this game could get really ugly. I mean, they put up 56 on a pretty decent San Jose State team. This could be an 80 for USC, the way they run it up. Colorado State, another Z team playing Washington State. And that's about it. Last week, Florida International. And, well, Hawaii and UMass are like, now they're over. Now they found some offense. Still can't play defense. So let's see. Colorado, a tight end questionable, a running back questionable, and a tight end out. Again, we have no idea who they are, but just some injuries. Duke, wide receiver, out, lower body. Florida. Now, Florida's got offensive lineman questionable, tight end questionable, wide receiver questionable, tight end questionable, quarterback, but not the guy from Wisconsin questionable, wide receiver questionable, running back out for the year, lineman out for the year, and a defensive lineman out. So they got, okay, Rising, but we got one at Utah. They got like 10 guys that are questionable. One guy's got a knee. Maybe he doesn't play. Another guy with an illness, he'll play. Lower body, I'm sure he'll play. Out for the season's not playing. So there's three. A running back, an O-lineman, D-liner are gone. But are they the starters or the third teamers? Florida Atlantic. Florida State game, wide receiver out, defensive lineman out. Again, Jay Douglas, is he any good? We don't know. Fresno State's healthy. Georgia's got a ton on the injury list, but they're playing Division II this week. Now, the key to Georgia is the quarterback and Brock Bowers. And we know the defense is fucking loaded. Most of these guys are offensively. 3 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, but not Brock Bowers. Milton, a good running back, probable. And the other one guy's out for the year. 1 wide receiver's out for the year. Tight end's out, but not Brock Bowers. So, interesting. Georgia Tech, wide receiver out. So it'll be interesting to see what Georgia Tech, if they go to a more normal offense or not. Houston, running back out for the season, tight end probable. It's going to be a huge game with UTSA. Gotta love Frank Harris, though. Illinois, 2 linebackers out and a running back, and they're a good defensive team. When they play Iowa, we're just if the over under's more than 15, we're going under. Iowa quarterback McNamara probable with the quad, wide receiver out, backup quarterback we don't care about, wide receiver questionable, defensive lineman out. So not a lot. That's 3 wide receivers that are out or questionable, but McNamara will be playing. I think they're going to just run and play defense. They got Utah State. Utah State's a W, over under 43.5. So we'll see there. But McNamara, he's better than what they had last year. Iowa State, Deckers, their quarterback, questionable with a possible suspension. Running back Brock, questionable. Defensive lineman, questionable. Offensive lineman, questionable. Tight end, questionable. Iowa State's always a very good defense. They always play low-scoring games. And in their conference, they're holding Texas, Oklahoma, TCU to 20 points. So they must play the big cover 2, like teams against Kansas City. They just play too deep and say, Mahomes, you're not hitting us big. And that must be what Iowa State does, because Texas, Oklahoma, these teams that Baylor, Texas, and it's always 24-20 or something like that. Hey, Alex, how are you? Jacksonville State, who even knows? Like, what are they? Now, one thing about the hurricane, it's in Florida, but it already happened. My friend who lives in Orlando said, yeah, there was some wind. It didn't move. It was on the Gulf Coast. Maybe it'll affect Jacksonville. So I don't think it's going to affect like the Miami game and Florida State. It might have affected that day, but I think by now it's kind of gone through. And I don't even think that game's at Florida State. I think it's at a neutral. I'm looking for other Florida games. I don't really BC, OTC. Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to affect like Alabama. Like, does Alabama get affected by this hurricane? Tulane is in New Orleans, probably not affected. Clemson, Duke, but I think that's kind of a neutral. That's probably at where the Carolina Panthers play. So it's still in Carolina, but probably by now it shouldn't be affected. Let's see. Lou Monroe, Army, it doesn't matter. We're going to run it down their throat anyway. Kansas. Now, Jay Daniels, their quarterback, is questionable. Now, they're not on this. They're playing Division II, but I like their other quarterback, Bean, better than Daniels. But Daniels is pretty good. Kansas State wide receiver, O-lineman. Kentucky, 2 O-linemen out for the season. Wilcox, running back, questionable with a hamstring. 2 tight ends, questionable. And 2 running backs are probable. Kentucky is a very good defensive team. Now, Larry from North Carolina State's now the Kentucky quarterback. I don't know. Everybody's making a big deal about Levis. He didn't do anything. They only averaged 20 points a game last year. I don't, because he can throw the ball a long way like Josh Allen. I never was a Josh Allen fan because he couldn't read a blitz. So I don't know, because a quarterback can throw the ball 80 yards, that he's a good quarterback. It's like these guys like Richardson. He's a good athlete. Yeah, but he sucks as a quarterback. So that's why I kind of just shake my head at that. So, Kentucky doesn't play. LSU, let's look at Bobby's game. Emory, the running back's out. Ibita, wide receiver, doubtful. Another running back, Goodwin, is doubtful. Another running back is probable. Another one's questionable. So I got 4 running backs. One's out, one's doubtful, one's probable and one questionable, and a defensive tackle that's he's fine against Florida State. So that's going to be a good game. But again, in that type of game, you got to take the dog. 2.5, you get 8.5, and you just go, I got a good team, they got a good team. Usually a lot percentage tease the dog in those games. And you're fine. I think that's Michigan, Ohio State. I took the dog for 50 years and I won like every year with it. It's just these emotional games. You got a good defense. It's going to be a close game usually. L Tech, 3 running backs are all questionable. Now, Miami, here's Van Dyke, quarterback, questionable Friday with a thumb. Which thumb? The line hasn't moved, so it's just take note what the hell's going on. So we'll have to read his box score and maybe get his highlights on YouTube, but look in the box score in the Miami, and you'll see if he's out there, then he's fine, or it's not that big a deal. Again, I love how it doesn't say passing thumb or other thumb. It could be his left hand, and it wouldn't really have any effect. Michigan's fine. Michigan State's fine. Minnesota's fine. Ole Miss, 3 wide receivers are questionable. A running back and a tight. So a lot of offense on Ole Miss, but they don't really play this week. Navy, well, we already saw them. Nebraska plays this week. Minnesota. Tight end questionable. Linebacker out for the season. Defensive lineman out for the season. Running back out suspension. So a little defense. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I don't know. Rule, the new coach, who the hell knows? And they get Minnesota this week. I don't think they're going to score any points. Minnesota have a really good defense. North Carolina plays South Carolina. Tight end out for the season. Defensive back out with a lower body and an old lineman out. So are these guys pertinent? I wish they would bold the starters. We'll see, but they never have a defense. So Mayo put up his points. Rattler for South Carolina will put up his points. I would assume it's an over game. What do we got? North Carolina, South Carolina. Where the hell is it? North Carolina, 2.5, 64. So it's pretty high scoring, but I think that's a third quarter over. I mean, they'll both just crush it. I don't. North Carolina doesn't have defense, and they got the good quarterbacks. But last year, I mean, they let me down like against – there was a couple of games near the end I took North Carolina over, and they needed one more touchdown, and the quarterback just threw interceptions. This May guy, so I'm not really concerned. Florida and under teaser. No, I like Utah under. It's a red out. I don't trust Graham Mertz. I do think he's out, but then you only got 4.5. So I've been on Utah the whole time. I still think Utah wins the game, but I do like the under. But I would take you to Texas and the under as the teaser versus Florida. Utah's pissed off. It's a red out. Very emotional. I don't think Florida gets any scoring. Graham Mertz, I saw Wisconsin sucked. So I'm not. So if you're down, are you counting on Graham Mertz to get you back in it? Good luck with that. They do have Anthony's brother from Clemson, but Utah's very strong defensively. You don't want to fuck with Florida. I like the under part of your thing, but I don't. I'm not. I never have thought Florida is in the same category here, especially in a revenge game and a red out. I wish Rising was playing, but I don't like Florida here. But I mean, if you can get the 10.5, the under is what I like. Now that Rising's probably not playing, but their backup should be good. He knows he's been practicing as the starter for for a month. So I don't think Utah is going to drop off that much from Rising. I think a little, but they got good running. They got good tight ends, a good line, and a great defense. So I wouldn't fuck with Florida. Fuck with the under, but I wouldn't fuck with Florida. Let's see. Ohio State Christian tight end out for the season. I don't know. Oklahoma wide receiver Hester questionable with the foot. Oregon 2 wide receivers are questionable and a tight end, but I don't think they play anybody big this week. Oregon State 2 wide receivers are out, or one's out, one's questionable. They've got San Jose State, but again, they got Buglia, which is I don't know. I can't believe Oregon State took the guy. Oh my God. Purdue tight end out, O lineman questionable, wide receiver out. So a couple of guys, new coach. He's a defensive coach for the first time. I used to watch when Drew Brees played at Michigan. I'd go to those games, and Purdue's always Bob Greasy and Len Dawson and all those guys. They've always been a good quarterback, good offense. This will be really weird with the defense. It's like Wisconsin's always been defense and run, and they're going to Mordecai and the SMU offense. So this is we gotta see what happens. Sam Houston's all set, no injuries to report. I don't even know if they know how to do an injury report at Sam Houston. San Jose State, just a couple of questionable. South Alabama's healthy. South Carolina, tight end out. 2 wide receivers probable. So it's just one tight end. Who knows if he's any good or not. USC, wide receiver is fine, and a defensive lineman's questionable. Nothing important. Syracuse, Temple, Tennessee. I don't think they play. 2 running back. One running back. Bishop's mid-October with an ankle. Texas, Red questionable with the shoulder, and that's it. TCU, Cook, a running back, is out. Texas Tech. Now they're at Wyoming. This should be interesting. They got wide receiver with a collarbone. Running back questionable with a thumb, tight end questionable with an ankle. So we will see pretty good quarterback. They normally, I would think they could light up Wyoming, but Wyoming always plays that. They're probably playing that 2 deep zone in this game to keep Texas Tech marching down the field instead of quick passes. So we'll see. UTSA, wide receiver questionable. I'm sure he'll play. UTSC, you got to play at UTSA. UCLA, nobody. UL Monroe, nobody. Utah, again. Rising, doubtful now with the knee. So we assume he's out. B. Rose, one of the backups, is also questionable. I don't think he's playing. The tight end, All-American, is playing. Q3. That'll help. Utah State, 1 tight end's out till mid-September. Wake, Washington, running back out for the season. Another running back out, suspension. Wide receiver out with the thumb. So they got a few offensive things, but again, we don't know. It's the star Penix, and they're running the Fresno State offense, so they don't need the running backs that much. Washington State, 2 wide receivers are questionable. A defensive end's out, but not a key defensive end. They have a very strong defensive team, and both their defensive ends came back, and this guy's not one of the 2 superstars. So look for Washington State. What do they got? They got Colorado State. Look for this to be a shutout. West Virginia, nobody. Western Kentucky, Western Michigan, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they always have like 20 guys injured, so let's ignore the probables. Wide receiver questionable. Another wide receiver questionable. Tight end doubtful. O-lineman out and a tight end out with the knee. What the fuck? So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys on the injured list, of which 3 of them are wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and nobody on defense. And the question is, well, you need the receivers now because you're going to an air raid and you're going to Mordecai, so you need good receivers. Now they probably have, but they're all getting like foot and hamstring problems. Probable hamstring, probable knee, questionable foot because they're running out of their minds with Mordecai. In Wyoming, 2 running backs are out and a wide receiver, and they're going against Texas Tech, and they're going to need the points. So those are the lines. Those are the injuries. We can look at baseball in a minute. So what do we need to know? It's the new quarterbacks like UMass last week. So if we look at today's games, UCF 35.5. We got Utah 4.5. See, it's weird because it's holding at 4.5. Minnesota, Nebraska is a 7.44. So you really need to break the teams down. So Big Ten's a lot of unders. Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, Georgia we know about. Washington State we believe will be an under. Iowa State we know will be an under. So don't fuck with them over and just play the game under. That's all you need to do. Then we go to our over games. So let's look at our over teams. You've got Miami of Florida, if the thumb's okay. Louisville should be much more offensive with Brom. Hawaii, probably an over now because the quarterback's starting to get better, and they still have no defense. Tennessee, we know they're going to light it up with Milton. Shouldn't be a problem. So was Hooker that good, or was it the coach bringing in this offense? And don't fuck with the offensive coordinator. It's the head coach. The head coach brings the offense. Just like Belichick runs the defense for New England. There's no defensive coordinator. It's Belichick. So all these defensive coordinators that go out for coaching jobs, I don't know. I wouldn't take any of them. And none of them ever do any good because they're not really the defensive coordinator. Nick Saban's the defensive coordinator from Alabama. Don't fuck with that. And the same thing with Georgia. Their coach is the defensive coordinator. So when the defensive coordinator went to Oregon, why is Oregon scoring 50 points and giving up 50 points with the Georgia defensive quarterback as their head coach now, their defensive coordinator? So some coaches are the coordinators. They might help, but they're running it. And I would look for TCU to be explosive because of their coach, UCLA to be explosive, and USC because of their coach. You've got TCU, you've got Tennessee, you've got the Louisville Brahms. Let's go down to Tennessee. SMU, they got a new quarterback, Stone, supposed to be dynamite. Look for them to keep scoring 60 points a game. East Carolina, now they made it. Their quarterback's gone. Ehlers is in the NFL somewhere. And but I think they're going a different direction. So I don't know what East Carolina. Michigan will win 28-0 or something like that. Should be a low-scoring game there. Purdue, well, they changed to a defensive coach. So you've got to be understanding that they got a new coach in, changes are made. And that's what we're learning the first couple of weeks is with all this transfer portal bullshit. All of a sudden, a Clemson guy who couldn't make it goes to Georgia Tech, can't make it, goes to UMass. Who the fuck transfers to UMass? Oh, yeah, we're going to draft that guy. So that's what we've got to look at the first week is all this bullshit of the transfers. So we've got to see what happened. So that's why it's hard to look at last year. Like Purdue, they're not going to be an explosive team like they usually are. Even Fresno State, they got a new coach. Their coach went to Washington. Now Washington's an over. The whole freaking Pac-10, except for Washington State's an over conference, just like the Big Ten's an under conference, basically. Let's see, other overs. We'll see if Colorado is. They didn't have a defense last year. Oklahoma, yeah, now that's another case. They put up 50 points a game with Gabriel from UCF because they bring in the UCF offensive coordinator and go to the UCF offense for Gabriel. You have the defensive coordinator who's that from Clemson is now the coach. Where were their defense? They couldn't stop the win last year. So you got to play them as an over, high scoring. Arkansas State, they weren't much of an offense and no defense. So Oklahoma should have a big game here. Northern Illinois was an over. We'll see. Their quarterback's back against BC. That's a good money line bet right there. I think Northern Illinois can beat BC. BC's terrible, provided who transferred in, right? So as of last year, Akron's a Z team. Temple's a Z team. Temple's terrible. Let's go up here. South Florida was a big over last year. New coach. They're one of these, we'll score 40 and give up 40 on you. But Western Kentucky, surprisingly, was not an over team. They had a pretty good defense numbers wise. They'd win 30-14. So we'll see. So it's hard to bet them over. That's why I'm shocked the 70 number on this game. It's ridiculous because Western Kentucky had a pretty good defense. So we'll see if that goes over. Ohio State, probably an over. It's a plug and play. Their new quarterback comes in. They'll put up 50 points on Indiana. What's Indiana going to do? I don't know. They got a new quarterback. So does Ohio State. You worry about Ohio State because they had Joe Burrow and they didn't start him, and it was like, oh, so you guys know what you're doing? He was the third string quarterback there. Like, what the fuck? I think it was JT Barrett. Like, yeah, how did that work out? So they should be an over. That should be a really high scoring game against Indiana, provided Indiana's got any type of offense. I'd say Ohio State minimum of 45, if not 50. Indiana has no defense. Indiana is the question. Are they going to score and then you can't lay the 29 and then you go over, or is Indiana going to get shut out? And that's really I know Ohio State's going to score in the 40s. That's all I know in the game. That's for sure. Hey, Eric. No, just talking college football right now. You still in Vegas or are you back home? Washington should be an over, as we talked about it, running that Fresno offense. Penix, who sucked at Indy, now all of a sudden is good again at Washington. But Boise's going to run the ball down their throat. Boise's got 3 strong running backs. So they're going to try to run and keep Washington on the bench. Washington's going to throw. Penix throws a few interceptions because Boise's a pretty good team. This will be a very interesting game, so we've got to see. I'm in Denver now. I drive trucks across the country. Oh, okay. Well, drive safe. We'll see what happens. All right. Let's see. So now we got UMass as an over team instead of a Z because they put up points. Rice sucks. Texas, I don't know what to tell you with Texas, Alex. I think Texas, they're gonna put up a 70 on Rice. That's gonna get ugly. But I'm gonna warn you that Oklahoma game, I'm taking Oklahoma right now. They beat them 49-0, and Oklahoma it's gonna be like this Utah game. As long as everybody's healthy, I'm locking Oklahoma against Texas. Because you don't beat Oklahoma 49-0 and then not have to pay for it. And that's just like Utah, Florida. That's why I'm so up on Utah's the revenge and a readout. So I imagine Texas looks good. They got Manning to come in, so I think they're going to score a lot. But they had a good defense last year. Rice has no defense, so Texas is just going to score and score and score, and they normally do. Buffalo, I got as an over team last year, and their quarterback's back. Wisconsin now, they're going to change. They got a new coach. They've now gone to the SMU offense with Mordecai. Who the fuck knows? So their defense is going to go down because they're not going to rest. They're going to score too quickly, and we will see. So this could be like a lock over. They do play Ohio State. That game could be a 90 if Wisconsin gets going and neither team has a defense. So this would be an interesting. They're not going to rest like they've been with the running offense, and then the defense sits and rests. The defense will not rest. They're going to tell you in the fourth quarter. So this will be interesting. North Texas is an over team, like I said, with the Mike Leach offense. Morris, the new coach. So look for them to be putting up they could put up a 40 on Cal. USC, we know they're big over. UTSA and Houston's both should be overs. Love Frank Harris, UTSA, good quarterback. They got good running backs. Again, the best running back in the NFL, Sincere McCormick, is on the Raiders from UTSA. That guy, I watched those games. It was unbelievable. You couldn't tackle the guy. He was like a Gale Sayers almost, where it was like all these jukes. And then he'd take off. He was fast. Very, very strong runner. So I'm curious to see what the Raiders, how they screw it up like they did last year. Houston should be a good over. We'll see who their quarterback is. A&M switching to an air raid offense because Bobby Petrino's the coach. So this will be interesting. Does he have a quarterback that can run his offense? But we know Jumbo Fisher, what a fraud he is. So he takes all the money, and A&M sucks. So I don't know what he's doing. They have a good defense, but no offense. So this will be interesting. What Petrino does at A&M, keep an eye on that. Washington State, I hate their quarterback. Cameron Ward is one of these like, oh, I'm going to run and throw, but he can't throw. He can't hit the broadside of a barn. It's like Lamar Jr., but he's a good runner, but he doesn't score a lot. Colorado State Z team. Texas Tech, we know, is an over team. Shaw, very good quarterback. Look for them. I'm not sure in this game. Again, they're playing a defensive team. I can't bet the over. I can't bet the offensive team against the defensive team. You can only bet them when they have the weak defense. Middle Tennessee State wasn't over. I have no idea this year. New quarterback. Alabama, their quarterback sucks. I don't know what they're going to do. I was watching the Alabama-Tennessee game because I wanted to see them lose. And they run such nice plays. But it's funny when they're at the goal line, there's always 5 guys wide open. You're like, what the fuck? So they do run creative plays at the goal line, Alabama. But their quarterback this year sucks, so this will be interesting. West Virginia wasn't over, new quarterback. Penn State was an A team last year, so this will be supposedly have new quarterback. Who the fuck knows? I don't care. He's a 5-star out of high school. I care if he's a 5-star in the college. So we'll see. Again, he's freshman. It's his first game. I don't see how they're 20-point favorite over West Virginia, really. How bad is West Virginia? But they got a new – but, you know, when West Virginia plays Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Kansas State, TCU, it's not like they don't play teams. They're not going to be in awe of Penn State, and it's a very close rivalry, West Virginia-Penn State. So laying 20, I wouldn't touch Penn State with the 10-foot pole in this game. I don't know how good the West Virginia quarterback is. They don't have a great defense, but I'd be teasing West Virginia before I'd be teasing Penn State. in this type of game. Again, you've got to realize they play Texas and Oklahoma. This is not a big deal for them. Toledo, they were an over last year. Quarterback Finn is back. Illinois, more of an under team. So again, I can't take Toledo. I can't fuck with the good defense. I'll never bet against Georgia or Iowa State, Iowa, Illinois with the good offense because they'll just put them to sleep. Good defenses will kill good offenses. South Carolina, North Carolina, both over teams. So I expect a lot of points in that game. Both have good quarterbacks. There's no reason that they won't be the same this year. The South Alabama Tulane game, like I said, is probably the game of the week. Both are A teams, strong offenses, strong defenses, and I got to bet. Strong offenses, strong defenses, A teams, good quarterbacks. I think this game goes down to the wire by a field goal. Let's see. Coastal Carolina, UCLA, 2 overs, as we said. McCall, top 10 quarterback, and UCLA, I'm sure will find one. Neither team will have a defense, and this game should get very high scoring as McCall's going to light up UCLA, but UCLA with Chip Kelly will definitely light that up. Oregon State wasn't under last year, probably the same. As we said, LSU, Florida, 2 A teams, good defenses, probably low scoring, probably the dog. And same with Clemson, Duke. Duke's an A team. Duke scored a lot and had a good defense last year. I don't think Clemson blows them out. I don't know if the game's in Duke or in the bowl game, in Carolina, but this game's going to be a lot closer, I think, than 12.5. And probably Riley Leonard's a very good quarterback, so I don't know. Clemson, I don't know their quarterback. All I know is he sucked last year, had one good game, and then he sucked. So that's basically this week. So again, we like Army because Lou Monroe was bad last year. Very weak offense. Army's gone to a new offense where they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to probably look more like Air Force, where Air Force runs those options, but they throw the ball a lot and very hard to defend, and they win a lot. And I think Army's going to take that. Lou Monroe sucked last year, no defense. That's why I like Army. The discipline, the offense should light up, and and I don't see Lou Monroe's defense doing much. And then we'll see Lou Monroe got a new quarterback, one of these dual threat guys again. I think it might be a little closer, but I think at the end of the day, Army has too much and should win. The other free game is Texas, as we talked about, should kill Rice, 70-0. And then we got Utah, Florida, which I loved Utah with Rising, and now they're fucking around. Friday he's playing. He's okay. Here's game day, and he's probably not playing. The line, let's take a look at the line one more time. And see, it was 4.5. This is at 6:24 for a 8 o'clock game. A lot of games. I hate when they put in these Division II games. Like, I don't give a fuck. Wake Forest is playing Elon. I'm not going to bet it. It's still 4.5, 44.5. So I don't get that. If Rising was out, I would see this game going down back to 3. But it's not. I don't know that he's out. This coach plays fucking games. Over under is 44.5. It was 43.5. So if anything, that tells me Rising's playing by the over under going to 44.5. So I have no idea if he's playing or if he's out. All I can say is go to the box score on Yahoo in the first quarter and see who Utah's quarterback is. because this guy just fucks around, the coach, and he has not said he's out. So he went from probable knee to doubtful knee, and we don't know. He's not doubtful because I've seen him throw in practice, and he's got the brace on. He's out running. You don't do that with your MCL. They might leave him out. He might play in the second half. He might come out in the fourth quarter. The score is tied. He might come out, throw up a few touchdowns, and that's it. We don't know what the fuck's going to do with Utah. Very good coach. All we know is I'm betting the better defense, which is Utah by a mile. They are loaded this year. They're like a Georgia defense this year, I think. We will see. What else? So that is that. Pros we don't care about until next week. We'll start introducing that. Maybe on Sunday I'll talk about those. Right now we're focusing on box scores. We're focusing on, are the teams the same as last year? Who changed? UMass, they're now an over team. They were a Z team. A Z team can't score. They definitely scored on New Mexico State. Granted, they got an interception at the 30 that led to a touchdown, and they got a pick six. So their quarterback looked okay. New Mexico State doesn't have a defense. So, but we didn't expect Mass to put up 40. So I'm going to call them an over now. We're going to see. They got Auburn. People are actually betting them. This spread went from 38 to 34. Don't get carried away. They did it against New Mexico State. This game's at Auburn. Auburn now might get a little bit like, oh, they think they're good. This is a game Auburn needs because they got to play Alabama and LSU and Georgia. That's 3 losses, so they need to get their wins for the bowl. So look for them to they might destroy Mass. Mass got their win. They're happy. So look for Auburn. Now, okay, now we see the quarterback. Now we're going to destroy him. So Auburn could just kill him now that you got him a little bit scared. So anyway, that's my 3 games. The Texas game, the Army game, those are very strong. And then Utah, I don't know. He's fucking around. I already bet Utah. I'm -1, and then now I placed an under bet with them. So I've got them both ways, so we'll see. But I wouldn't do Florida and the under, Alex. I would just do the under and play. You're a Texas guy. Play Texas. That's about it. So watch your under teams, your Illinois, your Iowa, your Michigan, your Minnesota, your Iowa State, your Georgias. And that's how you bet them. And you don't. I was looking at week 2 and I saw my Kansas teams playing Illinois. I'm like crying, like I'm fucked. Because I can't go over with Kansas. And they're playing a good defense in Illinois. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It depends what the line is. I got Illinois laying 3 because it's at Kansas. Now, Kansas played, like I said, the Oklahoma, the Texas, the TCU, the Kansas State. So not a big thing. But this Illinois defense is – I'll just play it. Kansas played Iowa State, so I'm going to play the same way. They beat Iowa State 14-11. So I'm almost going to kind of use that. But let's see what our over-under is on this. But you see, that's where you don't want Kansas. You want Kansas against Texas Tech, against the over teams. You don't want them against these tough defense. So I hate this matchup. Alabama is 7 over Texas next week. Will it affect this week? I think Texas is just going to go crazy because then Manning will play. Alabama has to get their quarterback ready. So I think they play, but next week's going to be very interesting. Texas 7 over, or Alabama 7 over Texas in Alabama. Tough one. Wisconsin goes to Washington State next week, which is a revenge. I think Washington State beat them last year in Wisconsin. So this will be what should have been a lock under. Now I don't know with Mordecai. That's why I want to see what Wisconsin is. They're not, I don't believe it under anymore. But they might be an A team because they can score and their defense will be good. What else do we got? Air Force against San Jose, against Sam Houston. This will be interesting. USC will kill Stanford. Auburn goes to Cal. What is that about? Why is Auburn going to Cal? And anyway, Tulane against Ole Miss should be a good game. Cincinnati, Pitt. Let's see how good Cincy is. So we're learning the teams that the coaches left, and we got new coaches. We're learning them. We're learning the quarterbacks, and we're just looking for. We caught Kansas last year putting up a big number in week 1 and 2, and we bet them over and won every time with Kansas over. So that's what I never would have had Kansas on the radar last year. So that's what we're looking for the first 2 weeks, is to get the new numbers and look at the box scores, see who's the new quarterbacks, who transferred in, if they're any good or they suck. And you can just see if the guy goes, I don't care what he does, like 19 out of 20 or something. What I care about is touchdowns, interceptions. If he throws 4 touchdowns and no picks, I'm going to keep an eye on the quarterback. Van Dyke, Rising, that's how I found those guys. And if it's 0 touchdowns and 4 picks, which I'm expecting Booglia to do at Oregon State, we already know what to do. So I'm expecting him to still suck just because he's at Oregon State, where there's a lot weaker defenses, right? But this will be, we want who's UCLA's quarterback, Ohio State's quarterback, Alabama. So this is what we're learning this week. So keep an eye on your box scores. So again, that's all we're doing tonight. So tonight's kind of Utah, but mostly under, unless we see this line move. If this line, oh my God, wait a minute. Movement. And which way do you think it moved? Whatever way you think it moved, you're wrong. Where did it go? Utah's now 5.5, 44.5. Me think Cam Rising playing. It went a whole point, 4.5 to 5.5. So Rising, let's not be surprised if he's playing. The coach is fucking around. I don't know what Vegas is doing, where they're getting their info, because the coach is not giving the info. But at 6:30 for an 8 o'clock game, you probably have to make your decision on Rising. The line going to 5.5 makes me believe he's playing. And now it turns into Utah 42-7, as I thought. Yeah, because it's an emotional game for Utah after the loss. So look, if what I'm seeing, if my spider senses are correct, which they normally are, he's playing. There's no other reason this line would go to 5.5 unless the Florida quarterback's out. Then I like Utah anyway. Utah wins with the second string quarterback. I'm not worried. With Rising, I already gave you that score, 42-7. And if he's playing, because the coach doesn't want to risk his knee, so he must be well if he's playing. And if he's playing, they're going to kill him because it's a red out. It's a revenge game. They are very strong in the mountains. Florida is the swamp. They're used to the heat. They're not used to the mountain. And Graham Mertz sucks from Wisconsin. So if this goes to 6.5, Rising's playing, I would suggest you go bet Utah, Texas really quick. I already have one of those, right? I have Utah, Texas from last week when I saw Rising because I thought it would go back to 9.5. It might get to 9.5. We still got an hour and a half, but let's see if it moves again. Where'd it go? Oh, 5.5, 44.5. So get away from Florida, Alex. That's not a play here. So my bet, why would you bet Utah if Rising wasn't playing? You'd be like, yeah, I'll bet Florida instead. So if we see the over go to 45 and a half, 46, and the line goes to 6, we know Rising's playing, and Florida's in big trouble because this is such a big emotional game. This guy's killing me, this coach. He's got me all fucked up. All right, let's go. Cam Rising. So that's about it. So for tonight, it's Utah or Utah under. Looks like it's going to be Utah. And what do we got? UCF, Kent State. We don't know anything about Kent State this year. Their quarterback's now on UCLA, and so who knows? NC State, maybe you play it under 47 and a half, 53. UConn's no offense, terrible defense. So, NC State, probably wins, but it's probably low scoring, but I'm not really focused on that. And then tomorrow we've got Miami against Miami, Michigan State Central, Louisville, Georgia Tech, and Stanford, Hawaii. So keep your eye on that. Interesting. Stanford went from 9 to 3.5 or 3 now. So look for everybody thinks Hawaii put up 28 on Vanderbilt to lose. Stanford's is terrible. So Hawaii and 9.5 is probably good over a touchdown. But I don't know. This will be curious if because they don't have a defense, Hawaii. So we'll see what happens in this game. Anyway, so keep your eyes open for that. Utah, I'm all over the board. Is it Rising playing? Not over under? All right. Go Utah. Beat Navy. Dude, see. So if you're looking for a late Saturday game, I would say probably that UCLA Coastal Carolina game should be high scoring, and the LSU Florida State game, it's either Florida State or it's under. You got two strong defenses, and in big emotional games like that where both teams are pretty even, it tends to be lower scoring because it's just harder to move in that game. So look for over under 57.5 is huge. Let's take a look at Utah again. Five and a half, 44.5. So got a feeling Rising's playing based on why would the number go up. So again, we're in the dark. We're not getting any information. Let's go to the injuries. Although I don't think they update that like the line moves. If I look at the injuries, see, they didn't change this from Wednesday. So it's got him doubtful. But again, he was probable, so they don't have a clue. All right. Any other college football? Do we want to? The people want baseball. A quick baseball look. I know I got to ask that. We can take a look at 6:40. We'll go back to Utah in a minute. So let's see. 7 o'clock, so 20 minutes. Miami and Washington. Garrett 396 against Adon for Washington 525. Probably an over there. The Niners and the Chargers. Junis 4-3 with a 409 against Avila. 0-1 with the 263. So we don't know enough about them. Let that go. Atlanta and the Dodgers. Strider 15-4, 3-4-6 against Lancelin. Take Atlanta there. Strider's been hot. I like 15-4 with a 4.36. And Detroit beat the Yankees. Detroit loves having these afternoon games. I swear. Detroit won 4-3. Bo Brisky against Jonathan Lazaga. I don't know who that is. That's it. So there's not a lot in baseball. I think the Yankees won yesterday. I was listening to the Yankee game. It's so hard to watch. Listen to the Tiger broadcasters. Yeah, they won 6-2. Garrett Cole. That would have been a lock. Bet the ace if I'm not on. Verlander's pitching. Just bet Verlander. I know I made you money, Eric, with the Verlander on Sunday. That was a good one. We got lucky at the timing that he was pitching, but yeah, you just bet the ace because he can shut down the hitters. A good pitcher will always shut down a good hitter. Always remember that. All right. NFL, is there any news that we need to look at? Tyreek Hill won't face discipline. Okay. Dolphins' thin backfield gets thinner as Wilson hits the IR. I don't know who Wilson is. Trey Lance trade wasn't about Dak Prescott. So what is Dallas thinking? They have my guy, Greer, right? He's your quarterback. Why are you getting Trey Lance? Dak Prescott sucks. Trey Lance isn't any better. The fuck are they doing taking Trey Lance? I assume they traded him. I haven't. Trey Lance trade wasn't about Dak Prescott. So what was it about? Putting him in the backfield as a running back? Ram star wide receiver Cooper Kupp has hamstring setback and considered day today. We'll have to keep an eye on that next week. Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, okay, won't face discipline. Vikings give TJ Hawkinson a big extension. See, that's a problem because you can't pay a lot for a tight end. You need to pay it for your defense. That's why Minnesota has no defense, and they suck. Patriots claim ex-Panther quarterback Matt Corral off waivers, finally have their back. Oh, you got Zappy. What, are we watching Zappy and nobody on New England understands he's a good quarterback? What the fuck? Now you got Matt Corral. Now we know why New England won't make the playoffs. They'll be last place this year, New England. Dolphins thin backfield got thinners. Jeff Wilson Jr., a big name, is placed on IR. Eagles work out 3 punters. Cooper Kupp has the hamstring. Jamar Chase talks about Joe Burrow returning to practice. There we go. We gotta read this. Joe Burrow returns to practice. Joe Burrow has been out of practice for more than a month after suffering the calf injury. The Bengals were so hush-hush on when Burrow would return that even his teammates didn't know when he was coming back. Even Jamar Chase had no idea. I found out when I got on the field, Chase said. As a matter of fact, I found out when I watched him put his gear on. I was like, what are you doing? And I'd seen him in the walkthroughs. So that was another thing. I didn't think he was practicing. So that's great news. It's great to see Joe Burrow back. There we go. So now let's check that line. So you don't fuck around and wait. We know Burrow's back. What's the line on that? So he's not practicing if he's not ready to go. So let's go to NFL week 1. And let's go to Cincinnati, Cleveland. See, the line never lies. All of a sudden, it's Cincinnati 2.5, 47.5. I bet it was 1.5, 45 minutes ago. But now that we know he practiced, there you go. Cincinnati 2.5, 47.5. I would say get the bet in on Cincinnati. So you get 3.5 before it goes to 3, and you're kind of fucked. You can get 3.5 in Cincinnati. That's a very strong bet with Joe Burrow. But notice how the line it moves right with you. Let's see any NFL line. Chiefs 6.5. That should be 10. Atlanta, Baltimore 10. Cincy, Jacksonville 4.5. Mini 6. New Orleans 3. The Niners 2.5. Washington 7. They couldn't beat a good college team by 7. The Bears are down to 1. The Denver 4. San Diego 2.5. Philly 3.5. Seattle 5.5. Dallas 3.5. And the Bills 2.5. Jump on the Jets in 8.5. All right. So we'll talk about that Sunday. Let's see what Utah's doing. Utah 5.5. So I would definitely say that Rising's going to play then at 5.5. There's no other reason for the line to move. And look what it did with Burrow just practicing. It's 2.5. Let's see. I see so much shit. So when I'm at work, I go into Microsoft and I see the news, and I keep seeing electric cars, Tesla, bricks, and buy these stocks and AI crap and Bitcoin crap. So it's Joseph Goebbels propaganda in the U.S. They just keep talking about electric cars, so you buy one. Oh, look, electric cars, this and that, and there's new models coming out, and buddy, there's no interest in them. What do you stop wasting time? Or AI, is it really going to be, there's one stock that's way high, but do they have earnings? Is everybody going to run to it? And then again, attack on Wall Street where everybody's saying buy stocks. They're low, buy stocks. And I'm thinking, no, you need to buy gold. You buy gold because stock's going to crash. Then I read somewhere where China's economy is down, which it isn't. They got 60,000 tons of gold that ain't down. And then they're like, oh, all the foreigners are getting out of the Chinese stock market. Well, no, it's probably all the foreigners getting out of the U.S. stock market will be the next little thing. What else? So just don't buy stocks, please. The gold, it's just every paycheck buy gold and silver. Gold's up a lot this week. It's up like $50, $60. Gold's up to 1939, 1940. It was down to 1880, so it's up $50 with the BRICS stuff. They keep talking about how BRICS won't take over for the dollar. They're missing the point. Gold will, and BRICS is not taking over. They're going to compete with them, but since they'll be backed by gold, who the fuck wants dollars when you can have gold? So that's a moot point. What else? So just watch these car companies. I think Harley's having difficulties because a lot of people are leaving there. And I think they're having the same things as people to buy a motorcycle, and you still got to pay 10%. Who has what are they, 25, 30, 35,000? So it's like a car, 10%. So they're probably in trouble too, I guess, because I keep hearing everybody's leaving. With my situation, I called HR and I said, what the fuck's going on? You guys signed me to a year contract and you ended after 4 months and you had a PO for 6 months. Why aren't we going 6 months? And the HR girl was like, what the fuck's going on? So in my date, it says you're done September 8th is just a bullshit date. She said, no, that's just something to put in. It's not really a date. It's not like that's really the end date. It's just you put something in the system. I said, well, then am I gone? My boss thinks I'm gone because it says it in the system. She said, well, I was out then. My assistant took it. So I sent her my offer letter and I sent her my job description, said it's a 1-year contract. So she's going to talk to my boss and hopefully I can make the 6-month contract go 6 months. So I will see, probably that on Tuesday. So there's a hope for a few more months, which would be nice so I could buy more gold. Otherwise, next Friday is my last day, and then we'll be back to daily classes. So avoid car stocks and stocks with interest rate, housing stocks, all that. Big trouble. Look out for these companies. BRICS is just going to explode. So don't be naive. Just understand that they're sick of the U.S. because what the U.S. is doing, they're kind of like saying, oh, if you want our money, it comes with strings attached. And, oh, you want to do this, you're going to have to do that. So people are tired of it, right? They don't want it anymore. That's why so many people are interested in BRICS because they don't want to be bullied by the U.S. Here comes Russia and China, and they know the only way they can do it is to have a gold-backed currency. Nobody trusts them, but they will trust gold. Everybody trusts gold since the Romans, which is going to jack our price way up. So again, I keep going to my girlfriends. I says, well, as soon as gold goes up, we won't have to worry about this bullshit anymore. And I'll tell you, it's getting harder and harder to work. These people are a bunch of morons. And with somebody with my skill set, you just do circles around them. And then, I don't know. It's really strange. Anyway, what else? So let's see. So gold should be going through the roof soon. Just keep buying as much as you can. There's really they'll always tell you to buy stocks and buy bonds and, oh, don't miss these stocks. Don't fall for that shit. Again, they make their goal is to make commission on you. Their goal is that's how they make money. They're sellers, right? Their job is to sell stocks and bonds or these real estate trusts. That's their job. So they're going to talk you into it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to listen to them and you think they know what they're doing. Bernie Madoff, Attack on Wall Street, right? Well, Bernie keeps making us money, so we'll just assume he knows what he's doing, even though we don't know how he's doing it, but we'll just keep listening. And that's the problem. So be careful with that. Do not buy stocks now. All the foreigners are going to sell their stocks because we have a $33 trillion debt. And the only way to pay off on the debt, and the debt's owned to other countries. So what do? We go print all this money to pay them off. And when we do that, it's inflation. So the more money you print, the less they're worth. So the inflation's never going away. Don't buy into this. The inflation's down. That's bullshit. That's because they're looking at prices and the car prices are going down because, again, it's a market. The cars cannot sell in this market. They got to lower their price. I saw Tesla, again, for like the 10th time, lowered their price on one of their cars. That's all I see. They can't sell it. And the problem with Elon Musk, he doesn't understand there's no market for electric cars. So therefore, you could sell it at $10. Nobody's going to buy it because you got the pain of the battery and finding these stations and how long is it going to last and will it catch on fire and and then the charges go down and every 20 miles I got to recharge. So nobody wants it. So if you have something that nobody wants, you got to know that first. So he's dumping all this money into it but nobody's going to buy it. So he can't sell it. Then you got the inflation and you got the high interest rates. So if you do want to buy it, the interest rates are making it not affordable. So a few rich people might have it, but the rest of us are like, fuck, we're not going to get into that. So keep in mind, stay out of the stock market, for sure, out of the bonds. I think it was Buffett bought all these bonds, or somebody bought bonds, and I just laughed like, what an idiot. So keep that in mind. Money managed. So how much do I bet? You bet what your bankroll is. What's a bankroll? What you can afford to lose. So you take separate money and you say, okay, this is my football money. I do that when I go to the casino and play poker. It's like, okay, I got $300 I'm going to risk. And football, I probably start with 5,000. And I said, that's what I'm going to risk. And then I go from there. And the idea is figure out how much you can afford to lose. So if I lose all 5,000, will I be okay? Figure that out. And then the goal is to take your 5 and go to 10 and go to 15 and go to 20 and go to 30 and move the bankroll up. And to do that, if it's $5,000, you're probably betting $50 a teaser, except for my locks or big teasers. Then I might make it 100 or 150. Or like Utah, if we know Rising's playing, then I really love it. If he's not, I like the under. So that's really what you're looking at. And then as we win, we win some, we lose some. We hit the bigger games, we lose the little games is the idea. And we then get up from $5,000 to 7 to 8. As we go up, then the $50 bet's 100. The $200 bet's 300, and then you just keep going, and then the $100 bet's 200, and the bigger bet's 500, 700. Now we're betting 1,000 for the locks. That's why I differentiate the locks. They're the strongest play. Like Utah, if Rising's playing, this is a lock tonight, right? Utah would be a lock if Rising's playing, but I don't know. I can't lock it. But that's what I'm looking for in a lock. Utah, Texas, lock, boom. But I can't lock it with Utah because of the Rising thing. So now I'm like, do I play him under? Do I play Rising? And that's really what you're looking at. But that's if Rising's playing, and I know he's playing, it's Utah, Texas, and it's a big bet, right? I'm looking for that big bet because I'm going to lose some of these. So I want to lose the small ones and win the big ones. That's the idea. So 7 o'clock, we got an 8 o'clock kickoff. We've got Florida and Utah, and it is 5.5, 45.5. 7 o'clock, games at 8. I would say Rising's playing. I think if he's not, it goes back to 4.5. I don't think it ever would have went to 5.5. So expect Rising to play. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. We want him all year. He's a huge difference if he's playing. And I think it'll freak out Florida, right? They're probably going, well, we could beat him if Rising doesn't play, but if Rising plays at home, we're fucked. And I think if they see him out there, they're gone right away. Especially if he hits we get up 14-0 and Florida's done. Because they don't have a quarterback that's going to get them back, Graham Mertz. They're going to just try to run the ball. Anyway, what else? So you're doing this. This is not an investment. This is I don't know what you call it. This is just you're kind of making money, right? You're kind of turning $5,000 into $10,000, but it's a different type of investment. You've got to understand the teams, but that's what I talk about. If you're going to play stocks and you're going to listen to Attack on Wall Street, you've got to know what you're doing, right? You've got to know, not the guy selling you is not going to tell you what's good for you. He's going to tell you what's good for him. Peter Schiff's he's going to say buy gold because he sells gold. I'm telling you buy gold. I don't sell it. So I have no no dog in the fight, so just buy it because of the dollar going to shit, right? Football, same thing. I'm just trying to teach what to look for, right? We want bet Utah's because of strong defense, strong quarterback. They're at home. It's revenge. Da, 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 da. I give you 15 reasons. But Central Michigan, Michigan State, I have no idea. I don't know who's what this year. Michigan State's supposed to suck. So I give you a few free picks so you can make some money. And then I sell my strong picks so you can make more money. That's the idea. Whatever. So that's football. Pros we'll talk about Sunday. Again, we saw a few things. Economics, it's all markets. We're all going in the toilet soon because of the inflation, right? And then they'll say inflation's coming down and the Fed keeps raising interest rates. And I was watching Egon today and he says, well, interest rates won't help because of the debt. The debt counters the interest rate hikes because you're exploding the debt, which you can't afford either. So you're fucked because you have inflation with a lot of debt. So you're printing money you raise interest rates to kill the inflation, makes the debt unmanageable. So now you're fucked with the debt. So what do you do with it? So anyway, that's the problem. You're trying to, this is the problem with paper money. You can't do this. You can't add the debt and print and print and print, and it devalues the money. So you got to be smart enough to realize it's devaluing the money. And that's what you're going to do. So that's why it's got to be backed by gold. And if it's not backed by gold, that's why you buy gold. And I am sick of people going, well, gold's only, I read something about Bitcoin versus gold. And it's listing the pros and cons. And the pro of gold is it's good in a bad time. No, it's good anytime. Again, another idiot who doesn't understand price fixing and doesn't understand the price is being held down. Gold is not only good. It's like saying a Mantle card's only good in bad times. No, a Mantle card, a Brady card, a Jordan card is probably good any fucking time. So gold is good anytime when you stop price fixing it and keeping the price down by putting in derivatives. So that's what they look at, and they don't say that. So they're trying to make a case, well, when it's bad, inflation, gold's good. But otherwise, it's not good. Oh, the cons are it doesn't really go up. Well, it's price fixed, moron. And then Bitcoin, you're saying, well, we don't really know what it is. We don't really know what the value is. And, so the case was not even a case. It was buy gold because we know what it is. It can't go to zero. It's always in demand. The only thing that goes to zero is things not in demand, like our Titanic here. Nobody wants this shit. Everybody's going to bricks. Nobody wants this. It's inflated to zero. This is fucking worthless. So nobody wants it. So therefore, it has no value. Therefore, it's worth zero. And it's like going to zero. So you can still go to the grocery store and buy tuna fish. But anybody that knows anything knows it's worthless. So that's why it's get into the gold, because you can't print it. It can't go to zero. It's very limited. And like I said, it's limited to 244,000 tons. That's what it is versus 21 million Bitcoin. Luke said to me, well, but it's 32,000 ounces. Well, why don't we go to a tenth of an ounce? I mean, do you do ounces of Bitcoin, or what is a Bitcoin? An ounce, a half ounce, a ton? I mean, so it's apples and oranges, but it's a lot less than 21 million. But once gold breaks loose on its own, which is happening with bricks, then you'll see a real price. Then you can make these comments, and you can't say, well, gold doesn't move. gold doesn't move because it's price fixed. Like, wake the fuck up already. If you're going to tell a story, tell it, right? I can tell you all I want, but now I can say the Jets are much better because they're running the 49er defense with the Jet offense with Aaron Rodgers and Lazard and good running backs. That's what the Jets are. There's no deception. This is what they are. Cincinnati with Burrow is much better. You got to tell the truth. But if it's like saying, well, Burrow is injured. He's not playing. Look how bad Cincinnati is. Well, you can't say that. You gotta quantitate it by saying, well, Burrow's out. I do that all the time. Well, this guy's injured, so you can't say, you got to look at the whole. Like, I was on Twitter and some guy said, "Oh, Toronto Raptors won," and I go, "Well, the whole Golden State team was injured. They didn't win. Golden State. I think Klay Thompson was out, and then I think Curry got hurt." And I'm like, so the fact that Toronto won was, because of all the Golden State players that got injured. They didn't win. So that's kind of the same thing. So gold doesn't go up because it's price fixed and they use derivatives, but all that's going to melt too. Egon said, because of all the derivatives, that's debt too. So we're just fucked with that. It was interesting. I did a 0% credit card and I put some to Wells Fargo and some to Chase. The Wells Fargo hit 2 days ago, and my balance is like zero now. But my Chase didn't hit. So my bank, Fifth Third, moved the money probably the same day. So why isn't Chase? I'll look tomorrow. Hopefully Chase finally is recognizing this, because my balance on my Fifth Third credit card now shows this transfer, right? So all the money transferred out, but it didn't hit the accounts. Now I'm not too worried, because once they pay it, I'll just owe a few $100s on the one Chase and the one Wells Fargo and pay them off. And then the interest on the Fifth Third won't matter because it's 0%. So I'm not too worried, but I would like that to go through already. And then we'll see about the job and go from there. Because I would buy more. Next week's my payday. I'd go buy 2 or 3 more ounces of gold if I'm still working. If I'm not working, I can't. So we will see, and hopefully that does happen. So again, be critical thinking. There's things that I get the intuition on because I'm an INFJ, like Texas killing Rice or something like that, or Notre Dame over Navy. I mean, those are things that's the feel. So pay attention to your intuition, but understand the games. That's what you want to bet good defenses, pros, college for sure. Baseball, you want to bet the pitchers. They control the game. That's how you make your money. And you must understand that. It's like this girl plays chess on YouTube, and they move real quick, and she's got this 5-minute timer, and it's just, here's this move. And so in the comments, I go, what the fuck are you doing? Why am I watching your video on chess? Are you teaching? If you're teaching, I can't follow what the fuck you're doing, nor do you explain it. What did I just say? Bet the defense in football because they can control the game. Okay, so if I'm showing you chess, I have to come up with the same thing. Why am I making these moves versus those moves? What is the concept of the game? What am I trying to do by moving here? I move my queen over here. Why? And is it based on what the other guy is doing? That part's not clear. She's not explaining it. She's doing some stupid thing, and she's making these moves really quick. And there's a 5-minute clock, so she's constantly going boom. She makes her move, boom, makes her move, boom. The other guy makes that. They're all going very, like in fast motion, and I'm going, well, what's the point of watching this thing? And I haven't seen it on it for a while after making these comments. I said, if you're teaching me, you're doing a terrible job because I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I don't get your concept. That's my problem with chess. I know I'm trying to get your king, but I don't know what's the philosophy? What am I looking? What's my defense? What's my offense? What is my strategy to get your king? I missed the whole concept because I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I know how the pieces move, but I don't know what my strategy is in doing it, and I can't. Nobody can explain it. So when I get a girl, do I really want to watch you move real quick for 5 minutes? I don't get anything out of it. It's a waste of my time, and that's what I told her. So that's what I always think of here is to make sure I don't waste your time. But I try to explain it in ways that you go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that defense, okay. And that's why you look at box scores, and that's why you look at scores. So if Georgia's giving up 8 points a game, probably they have a pretty good defense. Probably need to bet them under. And then when the NFL draft comes, you probably want to take Georgia players. And I just laugh at the Lions. The Lions could have had 4 Georgia players the last 2 years. They didn't draft one of them. And I'm looking at Philly, and they did all exactly what I did. They probably listen here. And they drafted 4 Georgia guys, and now they have the best defense in the league with San Francisco. And the Lions, so they drafted Gibbs out of Alabama, and I watched him versus Tennessee versus LSU. Against Tennessee, he looked okay. Tennessee's not a good defense. Against LSU, he didn't show up. The guy's okay, but he's not a first-round pick. He's kind of a quick guy, right? And catching the ball out of the backfield, I didn't see it. He caught like a 2-yard pass. He ran okay. Like I said, against Tennessee, he made a good move. It's hard when Gary Danielson does it because he's so pro-Alabama that everybody on Alabama is a Hall of Fame player with this guy. But I watched him like, I don't think he's not better than Bijan Robinson at Texas or the UCLA guys or the Georgia guys. Who's the one Georgia guy? Seattle took him in the 7th round. It was much better than the Alabama guy. So I don't know what they're doing. But Hooker did look – see, so you watch Hooker against Alabama and watch him against Georgia, and it's totally 2 different quarterbacks because he had no time. Georgia just blitzes you. Georgia has so much speed on their defense, you can't do anything. Alabama doesn't. Saban he hasn't figured it out. His defense is good against the run. Everybody throws, so that's why he gave up 52 points to Tennessee, and Georgia held him to 13. Anyway, so what else? What else can we say? Questions, comments? One more look at our Florida game tonight. 5.5, 44.5. So the assumption is Cam Rising is playing. I would bet Utah and play it with Texas. That would be my assumption based on the line 7 to 3.5 to 4.5 to 5.5. He's got to be playing. Well, there's no reason. Oh, the second stringer is playing. I'm going to bet on Utah. And the under went from 43.5 to 44.5, which it wouldn't do if he wasn't playing. So I still think Utah wins if he plays or not. If he doesn't play, I like the under. If he plays, then I don't like the under. I still like the under because then they'll probably win like 37-0 or something. He'll light them up, but they're going to look to run. They're going to play the defense. So then Florida's not going to score much, especially if they get down and then Florida has to pass because they're down 21-0. Then there's going to be interceptions. Then I worry about the under on pick sixes. So that's why I prefer Utah with Rising as the best bet on there. Otherwise, tomorrow, not much. I don't know if I'll show up tomorrow. I might quickly just to go over the lines. And then Saturday, I'll be Saturday morning at probably 11-ish. The big noon. So we got these noon games. Keep in mind, Army moved from noon to 8 o'clock. Texas, I believe, is a night game. We got Utah now. So those are your three games: Army, Texas, and Utah. Utah under, Utah. Now I'm going to say Utah again because it's 5.5. So it's just one of those games. Rising doesn't play. It's an under, but we don't fucking know, and there's nothing we can do. So he plays at Utah. He doesn't play. It's an under. So I assume he's playing now. 5.5, 44.5. Jesus Christ. It's a messy sheet with Utah. 9.5 went down to 7, down to 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6, 4.5, 7 again. Unbelievable. But see, that's what the market tells you. Watch the line. When the line moves, there has to be a reason. So you need to be a critical thinker and go, if A happens, then what's the reaction, right? This is what I try to teach you in other areas like poker or girls or other things like that. Girl smiles at you, then you can ask her out. You look at her and she doesn't smile at you. She might need to get comfortable. I mean, that's the biggest thing with relationships is the comfort. You like each other, but you got to get comfortable, and then you go on from there. So when something happens, what's the reaction? When the line moves, why? The line moved down. Oh, Rising might not play. Now the line's moving up. Oh, I guess he is playing. And that's what you're like. I mean, I can't imagine he's out and the line went up to 5.5, unless a Florida player got hurt, which is fine with me. So you're always, that's why I'm checking the lines, because when they move, I want to know why. If it's a big move, it's usually an injury. So, but don't overreact to the injury, right? If somebody gets hurt, you can't make a big bet because so let's say, let's say, I don't know, let's say Mordecai gets hurt. Do they have a backup? We don't know. And then do we bet Buffalo because Mordecai's hurt? I don't know. That's the thing. So that's what you kind of look at. Like there's some injuries that you don't react to and some you do. If Caleb Williams gets hurt and USC all of a sudden goes from 38 to 34, I probably just don't bet USC. But if the line stays 38, that's why I like when I make the bet, and I try to bet them early. When the line's going with me, I like it, not because I'm with the public, because there's no injuries, right? So if, let's say I take Michigan and they're laying 35.5 and it goes to 36.5 just before, during the day, and it's going to be kicked off. Oh, I feel fine because, okay, I got no injuries to screw me over. Now let's go. Let's play. Or Ohio State. It's when all of a sudden it drops 3 points and I got an injury. Now I'm fucked because I'm betting, on whatever. And now that, maybe it's not that guy that's injured. Maybe it's a different injury. Then I don't care. So when I'm reading you the injury report and I'm going, well, I don't care. These guys that I don't know their names, I don't care. Van Dyke, the thumb, and Rising, and, Caleb Williams. If they get hurt, then it's a big deal. But if it's Joe Smith, I don't know who he is. If I don't know who he is, then I don't care that he's injured. And when I looked at Washington State, defensive lineman's injured, I go, shit, is he one of the stars? And then I'd see, no, he's not. So then I'm like, okay, who cares? So a backup being hurt, we don't care about. But we're looking at lines, let's keep an eye. UCLA, Coastal Carolina, LSU, Florida. If LSU's 2.5, all of a sudden went to 6.5, we would know Florida State's quarterback's out. If it goes to even, we know LSU's quarterback's out. Then it becomes, do we trust the backup? Is the backup good? Maybe he's good, so we don't care. Like Dallas, if Jack Prescott got hurt, I'd bet on Dallas because I'd have Will Grier as my backup. great. I got a better backup than I had the starter. So it depends who the sub is, if it's a good bet or not. But that's why you got to understand like the second teamer. Now in football, why you can't really bet a lot is because you can get injured in the first quarter or before halftime. One play, look at New England. They lose Bledsoe, and here comes Brady. Well, at that time, you would have gone, oh, my God, I'm going to lose my bet. And Brady wins the game for you. So depends on the backup if it matters or not. So that's what you got to understand in football. That's why I never want you to bet like a big bankroll bet. If you got a $5,000 bankroll, don't bet $5,000 on Texas, because there could be injuries, although they got Manning as a backup. But that's because it's such a physical, violent game. You've got to be careful. These type of things could happen, and you lose your bet because of the injury. So that's why it's always like, just be prudent, bet a little. Okay, no injuries. Okay, let's keep going. And that's why it's very hard to bet bankroll. That's why I say build the bankroll. It's football. Baseball, yeah, you can bet a 10 on Verlander if you want. But again, the money line, and it wasn't bad. It was 160 for Eric, so he could make a big bet with Verlander, and they won 17-4 or something. So he would he won, but that's the point. You can bet a lot more in baseball with the pitcher, although it's been getting hard with this 5-inning 100 pitch count crap that they put on you. Anyway, any other questions, comments, anything? All right, last look. It's 7:30, so let's go enjoy the game. And it is 5.5, 44.5. So my guess is Mr. Rising is rising. He will play, I assume, by the line. I don't have any other information. Injuries aren't going to be updated. Possibly on YouTube, there's some, if you do Rising or Utah, you probably get the guy. But we can tell by the line that chances are he's playing or starting or coming in or whatever he's decided. It's now too late. It's now he's yes or he's a no. The line would have went to 3.5 if it was a no, so we got to assume it's a yes. So I guess that's it. Buy your gold. The dollar is going to zero. Bet your football. Turn it into gold. This is the investment. This is far safer than Wall Street or stocks or bonds, because it's tied to the dollar, and you don't want to be tied to the dollar. So if you're tied to this, you're fucked. We know you're fucked, right? You can bet football. You have a better chance betting on Texas to beat Rice than you do that. We know this is going to zero, and is Tesla's stock better than Texas? I'd rather have Texas. Tesla's trying to sell an electric vehicle nobody wants. Even if he does sell them, he's cutting prices so badly that there's no markup. There's no margin. He sells it for a loss. You don't want a stock like that. Nobody's buying cars. Interest rates are too high. And this is what blows my mind. Being the economist I am, I know if costs go up, sales drop. Well, if interest rates are driving up the cost of the car, because now nobody has the full money, so you take out a loan to buy the car, and now it's $1,000 a month for a lease or for a payment on a car, nobody's going to do it. So why would you want Tesla stock? He's selling fucking electric vehicles. It's bad enough nobody wants the electric, but now if you try to buy one, it's so expensive, you'll never sell them. So if that's the case, why would you buy stock in that? So this is why I'd rather bet on Texas to kill Rice, or if Rising's playing to play Utah, or take Army to beat Lou Monroe. I got a better play than I do in Tesla stock or some of these, or all these AI stocks, especially when the dollar's going out and the market's going to crash. That's the part that they're not telling you. right? The dollar's dropping. The foreigners are pulled their 36 trillion out, and the stock market goes down 90%. Why would you buy stock? Why would you keep your money in stock? But why would, Joe Blow, these are his top 2 AI stocks. Go buy Tesla, buy Amazon. Why would you buy these? Then I did a discovery yesterday on YouTube. I found this whole open society bullshit, Klaus Schwab and Soros and all these companies that are in this. It's, what do you call it? The Dubos thing, right? And then I realized, putting 2 and 2 together, that's why these stocks are up. Except for Tesla, it doesn't make sense because Elon Musk is not in this club. But all these bigger companies are in this club, which I don't know why. And they are, that's where the stock, Alibaba, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, all these communists are in the club. And that's why their stocks are way overvalued, because these guys have all the money, are buying these stocks. And what I love is they're all going to go broke. It's the best way to beat these morons. Because they don't understand Austrian economics. I love it. In other words, when the dollar crashes, so does the stock market. And what are these idiots in? They're all in cash and they're all in stocks. Well, when it turns to zero, all these guys go broke. Warren Buffett has $2 billion in cash that goes to zero. He's broke. Now, he does have some silver, but all his dollars go out the window. He doesn't get that. These people don't understand. They think they have a lot of money, they're safe. When it goes to zero, they're fucked. Pure and simple, they're fucked. It's worthless. We got gold and silver. We have value. So anyway, well, why is the line 5.5 then? Is somebody from Florida out? Maybe he's playing in street clothes. All right, so he's not playing. I feel good on the under. I don't know why it's 5.5. Let's see what it is. It's 5.5, 44.5. So money's going on Utah. I still love the red out. So I like both bets. I got the under and I got Utah. So I'm fine with the under now, but that's good. Well, they don't want to get him hurt, but that's fine. Thanks for the update, Alex. So why would the line go from 4.5 to 5.5? Well, I'm betting it on Utah's defense the whole way. There's a red out. There's revenge. They're in the mountains, not in the heat, and Mertz sucks. And Utah's defense. So I'm betting that it's a revenge game and a red out. Now it's like 24-0 Utah, where with Rising was 42-7. But I don't think Utah scores. They scored a little because Richardson, I saw, ran some. They couldn't tackle him, but he's not there. Mertz ain't going to do that. The running backs aren't, and Utah's just going to be pissed. So I look for that. But I don't know why it went to 5.5 without Rising. That makes no sense. But I do like, I'm telling you, I like Utah. I think they win. Let's go 24-3. Should be a dominant game. All right. I might jump on for a little bit tomorrow, but figure me Saturday, 11 o'clock. We can go through the Saturday games, talk about the games tonight and what happened. There's not much yesterday. Hopefully Van Dyke plays for Miami. You got Louisville. We'll see what Braun takes. And does Hawaii beat Stanford? Wouldn't surprise me. They both Hawaii's probably better than Stanford. Stanford sucks, and the game's in Hawaii. And they showed signs of scoring. And they'll probably win it for the people of the fire. I can see Hawaii making a big deal about that. All right. Have a good night. Good luck tonight. Utah under. However you played it. This is not a play. Florida in the swamp, maybe not. You're in high altitude in the mountains. Utah's used to it, and it's a red out, and it's a revenge game. And they must feel comfortable with Rising not even suited up. So look for this to be fairly low scoring, unless you got a lot of pick sixes from Utah. But let's see what happens. All right, everybody, www.teaserking.com. Please buy your gold. Get out of the stock market. It's all coming. You can see it. And off you go. All right. www.teaserking.com. And good luck tonight, and good luck. And I will talk to you maybe tomorrow a little bit, but probably figure Saturday morning. And we will look at what's going on Saturday. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night. Good luck.